I trained AI to replace 85% of my content writing. It takes generic stuff like, hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and transforms it into something that actually sounds like me. But I'm not just gonna give you a whole bunch of prompts to write good hooks, because even if you had that, you're probably still gonna go back and forth with AI and end up with something that kind of sucks. In this video, I'm talking about 3 key principles for building an AI content system. These are universal first principles for prompt engineering, which you can apply to any content workflow. But in order to understand the system, I need to explain my approach to training AI and why that unlocked everything. Think about it this way. If you were gonna start a new job somewhere, there would be some guidance, right? There's typically an onboarding experience, maybe some videos, documentation, and a lot of jobs even dedicate weeks to training where they'll put you one-on-one with the trainer to get you up to speed on that job. The problem is my expectations of AI were way higher. I thought I can get away with just throwing AI into the mix without understanding how does it fit into my actual content workflow. And that's why the outputs suck. So instead, treat AI as a real human. Right? Imagine they're an actual person that you're hiring and integrating into your content team, right? What would this person need to know in order to do their best work? Thinking about it that way immediately unlocked what I needed to do to help AI write better content for me, because it meant that everything had to start with principle number 1 here. So let me explain. Let's keep riffing on that example. If I hired a video editor for my content and I was like, hey, I want you to edit this video and make it a banger, right? And make it match my brand, make it look like a Hollywood film. But then I gave no other resources or no other information about how to actually do those things. Yeah, that editor is gonna last with you for maybe 2 days. This is what I was doing when I first used AI to write content. I was giving AI this massive prompt, asking it to do like 8 different things at the same time and creating an impossible task. And the funny thing is, that's not even the problem. AI can actually do that and keep track of all those things. The issue is if the output isn't great, you won't know when or where that problem actually is. So how do we prevent this? The first principle for training AI to write better is to break down your creative process into clear steps. Go deeper, not broader. So what does this look like in my creative process? Well, let's hop over to Tana, which is the AI tool that I've been using, and let me show you around. This is basically my entire creative process right here for YouTube. It goes all the way from ideas, right? Having ideas, to generating concepts for those, to researching, to packaging the video, outlining, developing, scripting, storyboarding, everything all the way to feedback. My point is, you wanna go as deep as possible, right? Within each step, like outlining that we're looking at here, I can break it down even further. All right, like let's actually just go over to my long form engine right now, where I actually manage all my content. And let's go into a project that's currently in the outlining step, like this one right here, AI tools every creator must use in 2025. For example, this is the outline prompt that I'm currently using. I'm just gonna go ahead and span this over so we can see it better. So for me, right, outlining is a big step in my creative process, but outlining as a step has 5 different steps in it. And each of these steps here, if I expand it, is an AI command. And I can expand it again to see the actual prompt. This is the prompt that I'm using just for this step here. And once this step finishes, it goes into the next prompt. And I'm just gonna go ahead and do it here. I'm gonna click this, and what you can see is it's starting to generate the overview, like the macro structure of what my content is supposed to look like. Once it finishes that, when this thing finishes spinning, it's gonna move on to the next part. The structure just finished. Now it moved on to the main content flow here. And then when it finishes that, it's gonna move on to the hook as well. Yep, we'll see it now moving on to the hook, and then it's gonna go move on to the loop, and then onto the conclusion. And so we can just take a look at what it actually did. Let's open up the hooks, for example. So what AI did here was generate me a couple different hooks that I might consider for this video. And if the hooks don't look good, I'll know exactly which prompt to go back to improve my hooks. And I can just really prompt engineer and train AI and tweak it till I get the outputs that I actually want. But even after breaking down my content process, I was still hitting a wall. My instructions were clear, but something was missing. So for a few decades, neuropsychologists have studied how the brain learns, and they've discovered there are 2 distinct pathways for learning. First is declarative learning, which is knowing that something is true, conceptual, factual knowledge, right? Like knowing you need to be charismatic when you're giving a presentation, or knowing that curiosity is a very powerful element for storytelling. But think about it this way. What does it actually mean to be more charismatic, right? If someone told me to be more charismatic, I'd be like, okay, I don't know what to do. I think school in general teaches us to learn declarative knowledge, like textbooks, PowerPoints, slides, memorizing facts and stuff. But in order to train someone, and especially train AI, it's much more important to include the second learning pathway as well, which is procedural learning. This is the implementation and knowing actually how to do the thing. So going back to our example about, how to be more charismatic, what are some actual implementation steps you can do? Well, try speaking a little bit louder. Smile when you speak, and that naturally brings out the higher tones in your voice. Share a personal story when you say something. Instead of telling AI what good should be, show it what good actually is. And so, not to be a hypocrite, let me show you now how this actually looks like in my Tana as well. What's the difference between something that might be declarative versus something that might be more procedural? So declarative stuff for AI would be if we're writing content, stuff like this. Oftentimes we tell AI, write a hook with more curiosity, or build tension, increase the stakes, balance emotion with evidence, or incorporate vulnerable and serious moments. Great contextual stuff, right? But AI is not really gonna know, what does more curiosity in a hook mean for me? So instead, transition from using phrases like that to stuff like this. How do you write a hook with more curiosity? Well, use phrases like, but it's what you think, and there's so much that you don't know. How do you build tension, or how do you add more emotions? Well, describe sensory details. What do things look like? What do they feel like? And how do people react to things? And use shorter sentences and syntax for impact and emphasis to create certain emotions, right? This is an example of shifting declarative phrasing to be more procedural. Let's just zoom into one of my prompts here for, let's just look at the hook, right? This is the hook right here, and this is my prompt for generating YouTube hooks. This is the extent of the declarative knowledge that I gave for this prompt. It's not very much, as you can see, right? But the bulk of it is right here in all of the hook patterns. And within each of these patterns, there's also a little bit of declarative knowledge, right? Just showing what this pattern actually is. But the bulk of the prompt is the how. It's how do I actually implement all of this stuff here to make something direct and no fluff. And so if I open my examples, we can see, yep, I just put more examples than anything else. And this really gives clear instructions for AI, and I'm training it based on best practices only. There is one more piece of training I wanted to give my AI clone so it could truly replace most of my creative. AI has no personality, right? It's kind of like the show Severance. AI is your innie. You can use your inputs, but it doesn't really know you, at least not yet. And this is probably one of the most important lessons I've learned over the past 5 years of building brands on YouTube. It's not about content quality that makes you stand out. It's about telling a memorable story, your brand story. That's what's memorable. And unless you train AI to know all those things about your brand and about you, it's not gonna produce the kind of content that really gets people to fall in love with your brand. And so this is definitely my take here, but as a creator, I don't want AI to write everything for me. And I don't want it to write general content. I want it to write from the voice of my brand. I want it to use the language that I would use, the stutters, the word choices that I choose, I wanted to share my stories. I wanted to teach the frameworks that I talk about, the lessons that I've learned, the mistakes that I've made, the fuck ups over the past 10 years of my life, right? And this is really why I think all creatives need to use some sort of AI-powered notes app for project management. Like I said, I've really been enjoying Tana, as I've been showing in this video, because it has all the flexibility of note-taking along with global tagging, but it also integrates with AI like no other notes app I know, where you can access all the best models from ChatGPT, Gemini, and even AI agents in the future, which is a really cool update that I'm hoping is gonna come. So let me show you how I've been training AI with my personal stories and my uniqueness so it can write better content for me. So back inside this YouTube concept, if I scroll down, I actually created a field, which is kind of like a property in Tana that has this little microphone here. And I am much more of a talk to get my ideas out and tell my stories. And so what I can do is if I click on this microphone and I just start talking, Tana is going to live capture everything that I'm saying directly here into this node. And if I have a personal story, or if I have some insights or ideas that I want to capture for this specific outline that I'm working on, I can just get my messy ideas in here. I don't have to type anything. It's great. And if I stutter, if I say a certain phrase one way, if I accidentally swear and say shit, yeah, it just captures all my stuff. And so I can then feed this. I'm gonna stop recording because I don't need to get all this. I can then feed everything that I just put in these personalization notes into a new AI prompt that's also gonna have my outline, and that is gonna generate for me a really, really powerful script that's using some of the language that I actually gave it. And so why I think this is so cool is because I'm training Tana AI to not only use the best practices, use the best patterns that win on social media and win on YouTube, but I'm also giving it my personal touch, my flavor, the way that I speak, the language that I use, the way that my brand voice works. And I can give all of this context. Tana is also able to categorize things nicely using global super tags. So let's say, for example, that what I just said here is something that I want to keep. It's probably not, but for demonstration's sake here, I can tag this as personal story. What that's going to do is automatically autofill for me these certain fields for when I tell my story. What were the context and stakes around my story? What was the action and the buildup that happened? What was the climax and the outcome? And it's also going to save and preserve the original source transcript so I don't lose that, but it's also going to structure it in a way that's a bit more easy for me to remember. And then I also save all my personal stories into this super tag to have a running bank to pull from anytime I want to write more personalized content. If you're interested in the content system I used in this video, I'll leave a link below to Tana to check it out. No hard feelings if you're not. But like I said, all the principles I covered in this video are applicable no matter which AI systems you're using because they're key fundamental principles. I don't think AI should ever fully replace you, but this is definitely how it can integrate into your content team. But training AI to write content is really just the first step. The next question is, what the hell should you make content about? Well, we actually made another video about how to create a unique brand strategy and find your winning format, and you can check that out right over here.